if people want to say that this is me being an apologist for the manager, go right ahead and say it. But what I'm telling you is that the situation what you have here is not about the team being managed wrong. The team is not producing. This is on players. It's on them to fix it. And if they can't fix it, then they're not going to succeed. And then you look above the manager, right? Like it'd be different if I'm sitting here saying, like, man, this team would have won 5 games if the manager would have done this. Like if he didn't make this change at this time, or if he would have put this pinch hitter in instead, or it's like those things are not why the Phillies are 8-13. The Phillies are 8-13 because of everything that you've pointed out on this show. Statistically, like they are not hitting, right? They are playing poor defense. They're not getting the excellent pitching that they normally get. Like the pitching's a slight step behind where it should be. Like that's all the reasons why they're 8-13, not because the manager put together a bad lineup or made a bad pitching change. This is not on the manager. Now you could sit there, and I think it's fair to criticize upper management, but I think that only goes, and I had this conversation with one of the hockey writers last night. I said, you could criticize that because they've made mistakes. Dombrowski and Mattingly, they've made mistakes with players that they've brought in. But at the same time, their hands were tied. And I've said this on this show before, and it's hard to criticize ownership because they spend as much as they spend. But if you really wanted to fix the issues you have, you would have had to spend more. Yeah. Right? Like they're eating $20 million to get rid of Nick Castellanos. They're probably going to eat some money to get rid of Taijuan Walker when the time comes. Like, I don't think he finishes. Honestly, I don't think he finishes the season with the Phillies.
I agree.
But like there are things that like that, and you sit there and go, okay, but now in order to rectify these problems, you have to spend even more. And I think that they've reached a limit that they don't want to spend beyond. And so, like, you can't fix the problems you have if you don't have the young players to come into place and you're unwilling to spend. So now you're trying to find Dombrowski and his team are trying to find fixes on the margins by dumpster diving, and they've been unsuccessful.
I wonder what it means long term. I sort of shook off your site on Pattison, and Tim Kelly's been like fixated on all the ads that are in the stadium, and I'm like, dude, who cares? That's my reaction to that, right? Like,
right.
It's a commercialization, like capitalize, do what you got to do. I don't care about the 1941 analog clock. I don't care. Just play good baseball. But I will say, down there last night, the amount of advertisements in that stadium, it is staggering, right?
Yeah.
Like it is absolutely overwhelming. Now, if I were an owner, I would do the same thing. I would take every inch of that stadium and try to monetize it. I just would, because I'm an owner and part of my job is to make money. The reason why I bring this up, though, is that there's this assumption that the Phillies are dedicated financially to winning. And you saw, obviously, the sale of the San Diego Padres last week that went for almost $4 billion. And the amount of money that the Mets will spend and continue to spend, and I know the Mets stink, but they're going to continue to spend that money. And the amount of money that the Dodgers and that the Yankees spend. And I just wonder if the Phillies are going to slide out of that elite tier of spend, and if the delta between the top 2-3 spenders and then that 4-5-6 group is going to continue to widen. And I mentioned the advertisements because I feel like there's a lot of them, and I feel like that they weren't committed to going all in on terms of spend in order to clean up some of the issues that you're talking about, what they would have had to do. And I directionally wonder what that will look like in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And I say all of that to say that, like, I think that there's a world where the Phillies really be kind of come, not that there's two classes and saying that they're second class, but that they are second class and taking clear back seat to those elite tier teams without a sale. Without a sale where they go to the free market and someone says, like, yeah, we'll pay $4.5 billion for you because we can.
Well, it's funny, Bob, because this kind of gets to toward my one last thing. And I guess, we're 50 minutes in to the show. I guess we can kind of transition this into there. Because my question was, with the Padres selling for $3.9 billion, right? does that change the way people view the valuation of baseball teams? Again, all we've been hearing, right? We got the big labor war coming next year. And the whole thing that we've been hearing is that, oh, well, these owners, they just can't keep up. And the valuation of these teams is dropping like a stone. And then the Padres sell for $3.9 billion.
Yeah.
Like, are we being gaslit?
Yeah.
A
To
little
a private
bit
equity billionaire.
Right? I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, are we being gaslit a little bit here? Like, one of the things, my son, who's come on the show a few times, has been saying for a long time that, we were talking about the whole ads thing that went down there, and he said the Phillies don't need that ad money to pay the players. He says that. He says, yeah, they need ad money, sure, and of course you're going to go chase that ad money, right? We all would do that. Like, anybody would do that in the same boat. But he says, but they don't need them. They don't need the ad money to pay these players. They have the money to pay the players, right? Without it. So really, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a sport that is basically lying to us? Like, that these overlords of baseball have been lying to us for as long as they have, that it's not nearly as bad as they make it out to be. I mean, I don't know.
Like, what degree are owners borrowing against their future valuations in order to satisfy the moment? Like, that's a little bit admittedly beyond my scope of knowledge in terms of the economics of baseball. Like, it's one thing to say, like, you're worth $4 billion now, but if you don't, it's not liquid, so, like,
sure.
How are you cutting that check in the short term?
Yeah, no, I get it, right? I mean, there's all that. There's a lot of paper trail that needs to be followed for these things. We're talking about a $3.9 billion sale. But it is $3.9 billion for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
Right? We're not talking about a major market franchise here. Yeah. We're not talking the Phillies. We're not talking the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers. Like, this is the Cubs. Like, we are talking the Padres, who, to be fair, have an awesome stadium. It's a great market in the sense that it's beautiful. They have great weather year round. Like, they get good crowds. They're the only team in town really out in San Diego. Like, there is valuation to them that's a little bit more than you would say for maybe like the
Milwaukee.
Pirates. Right, or the Brewers, right? Like, sure, like, but they're not, and their general manager is crazy and he goes nuts and spends like a drunk, like he's like he's on a binge, drunk gambling or whatever. But the point is that even with all that, it's still the San Diego Padres at $4 billion.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you're like, what's the situation if do the Phillies need all that? Like, and if they are, if you're saying, if John Middleton's coming out and saying we need all of this to pay for players, okay, fine. Then why didn't you go beyond the $308 million threshold that you set this past off season? Like, why didn't you?
Well, I mean, when you just have multiple things going wrong, like, I don't want to go too far down this road, but like, you're paying $38 million to total zero of a starting pitcher who's killed you all year and will probably kill you again this week, and a right fielder now plays for the Padres. Like, that's $38 million. That's a lot of money. That's real money. That's it's just lit on fire. So on one hand, you feel bad for Middleton in that he's gone the extra mile and done the Turner. He's done the Castellanos deal. He did the Walker deal. He spent, but the spend has been so poor that you want to kind of slant towards the front office. But I do think that he kind of catches a little bit of I think he gets a little bit of a free pass in the way that the power ranking the Phillies blame game, right? Like, Middleton is not usually ever brought up as the one or the first or second reason, but I think that he probably should assume a little bit more of the blame than he's given by most. And I think that is fair.
Remember what he said? What was his famous saying about the kind of dollars that he was going to spend to help the Phillies win a championship.
Oh, sure. Like the stupid money and
Stupid money, right?
that's still not as good to me. I know that's the one that kind of gets thrown around all the time. I liked when he said, "I'm not a potted plant." That was my all-time like Mount Rushmore.
I love it. I love
moment.
it. But so when you think about it, did he spend stupid money? And is that the reason that they're in the situation that they're in?
Yeah.
Or, like, he spent the money stupidly.
I'll never forget. I was doing a hit on WIP when the Taiwan Walker signing broke. The host, I believe it was Tom Kelly. I'm not totally sure, but he was like, breaking news. The Phillies have signed Taiwan Walker. What's your reaction? And I remember distinctly being like, well, he can give you innings, I guess. Like, it was not like a real-time ringing endorsement. It felt dumb at the time, and now it feels absurd.
Well, it felt dumb. The reason it felt super dumb at the time was because they passed up on bringing back Zach Eflin to sign Taiwan Walker. Right?
Also.
But when you think about it, when you look at the two of them compared, I mean, Eflin's had
just can't stay healthy. Like,
he can't stay healthy, and that was why they didn't sign him, because they knew that, right?
Yeah.
But this is my point. Like, I think that this could have been resolved if Middleton and the rest of it's not just him. Obviously, there's a bunch of silent investors in the ownership group, and Middleton's just the front man for them. And they brought in Middleman as well, his money's involved in there now. But if they all give the blessing to Dombrowski to sit there and go, push it to 350 instead of 308. Is the offseason different, Bob?
Yeah, probably.
That's what I'm saying. Like, by limiting the president and the general manager for what they can do, they didn't get the right players. 2 years in a row, they didn't get the right players. But their hands were a little bit tied.
Yeah, you're shopping in certain aisles,
Yes. And you're shopping in aisles that if you're a World Series contender, you shouldn't be shopping in.
Yeah.
To fix holes on your team. So that's why, like, I look at it and say, there's a lot of blame to go around here. It starts with the players. You can sit there and blame the manager if you want. I don't look at managers and coaches. I don't think it's really them. You could blame the general manager and the president. You could sit there and say, you guys didn't bring in the right players, and it's fair criticism. But you have to look above them too. You do. You just have to look above them too.